Discover the incredible transformation. A lazy boy's 30-day journey to life-changing time mastery. Jake stood in the living room, squinting at the chaos surrounding him. Toys scattered like confetti, laundry piled high enough to reach the ceiling, and home repair projects that were mere sketches on his mind's drawing board. The afternoon sun poured in, bathing the clutter in a golden glow that felt like an uninvited spotlight on his failures. "Lazy boy," whispered the familiar voice in his head. Each unfinished task whispered before him, mocking his dreams of a thriving home repair business. On this sweltering afternoon in Maplewood, where neighbors waved with cordial smiles, Jake felt like an imposter in his own life. His wife, Lucy, a tireless nurse, walked through the door, looking exhausted after a long shift. A quick glance at the disarray in their home sparked a frustration that hung heavy like stale air. As she sighed, the weight of her unspoken words clung to him. He could see it in her eyes, the fatigue of juggling kids while he remained paralyzed by indecision. Looking for solace, Jake wandered into the community center. He found a door ajar, where a group gathered, drawn to Mr. Thompson, the war veteran elder revered by all. There was something electric about him, drawing forth powerful stories of struggle and resilience. As Jake listened, an awakening ignited inside him. This was not just a program, it was a lifeline. Families coming together, men rallying support around one another. It resonated deep within him, jolting memories of childhood ambitions he'd long buried beneath layers of procrastination. As he pledged to commit to the 30-day challenge on time mastery, an unfamiliar hope brewed within. But reality hit harder than a hammer once he returned home. The pressure built. Days flickered by like a strobe light, and with every attempt to channel his newfound resolve, stress crept in, pulling him back into familiar habits. Lucy started doubting him, the tension seeping into their family dinners and bedtime stories. The children stood bewildered, caught in the crossfire of their parents' discord. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when he felt a flicker of determination, disaster unraveled. A home repair project, sending debris and despair like wildfire across their sanctum. By the time Lucy returned, at the end of her rope, she broke her silence. "I don't want dreams, Jake. I want a partner." Her raw honesty hung in the air, a desperate plea that resonated within him, echoing his own desire for change. Standing at a crossroad, Jake's heart pounded as he looked into her hopeful but weary eyes, their children's innocent faces barricaded in confusion. Here he was, with a choice that felt monumental. It was time to transform, not just for himself but for the family he adored. The clock ticked ominously toward a decisive gathering, the stakes higher than ever. With Mr. Thompson's voice reverberating in his mind, integrity over complacency. Jake inhaled deeply, standing teetering at the threshold of his past and an uncertain but promising future. Would he rise to meet the challenge, or would he slip once more into the shadows? Jake's breath was a frantic storm as he stood before Lucy, clenching and unclenching his fists. The challenge loomed ahead, far too big for the man who had hidden away in the shadows of his own life. Outside, the world carried on, families laughing and children playing. Inside, all he could hear was the silence amplifying Lucy's frustration. "I'm trying," he finally managed to say, but the words fell flat. She needed more than promises now. She needed action, a partner who could be present, not just physically but emotionally too. "Trying isn't enough, Jake," Lucy said, her voice calm and steadied, as if fragile glass would shatter if she raised it any louder. "I need to know you're in this with me. We're in this together, remember?" He nodded, the weight of her words settling within him. They had once dreamed side by side, crafting ambitious plans for their future. But the life they'd built had become a chain binding him to fear and indecision. He couldn't let that happen anymore. Not for her, not for their kids. Okay, he replied, more resolute, feeling the murky heaviness begin to lift. I'll change. I'll tackle one thing at a time. Just give me the chance. With each word, he had to believe he meant it. He turned back towards the cluttered spaces of their home. It felt like a battlefield. Every corner a reminder of how tired everyone had grown. The weight of unfinished projects chafed against his shoulders, but his heart raced with newfound inspiration. He couldn't ignore the mess anymore. His family deserved better. The next afternoon, Jake began with the smallest room, the playroom. He emptied it one toy at a time, allowing the space to breathe freely again. As he sorted through the mess, memories flooded back the laughter and play, the endless games his kids had invented, all the love entangled in those objects. With each item he categorized, the nagging whispers faded. He was reclaiming his ground. When Lucy walked in that evening, her weary face transformed as she caught sight of their once chaotic haven now showing signs of life. Wow, she said, her eyes lighting up with surprise. You actually did it. I'm just getting started, Jake replied with a grin, the pride swelling in his chest warming the air around them. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it feels hopeful, Lucy said softly, moving closer to him. I've missed this part of you. And just like that, a tender connection reignited, one that had flickered low for too long. As they began to navigate the next steps together, Jake felt the strength of a team growing, rebuilding their dreams and their home. The fire of determination sparked high within him, pushing through every trace of doubt. But between family dinners and joyous giggles, something else lurked in the edges of Jake's mind. With days progressing, his old habits tried to claw their way back. The first few days of transformation felt invigorating, but could he keep the rhythm alive? As he lay awake that night, the uncertainty coiled deep in his gut like a resigned snake, waiting. He could feel failure lurking in the shadows, eager to pounce. Would he manage to uphold his promise? Was he strong enough to ward off the fears that had held him captive for so long? As dawn broke, Jake promised himself he would keep moving forward, no matter what came next. What awaited him beyond the horizon of this fresh start? Jake woke up early the next morning, the sun barely peeking through the drawn curtains. He stretched and let out a slow breath, feeling the weight of yesterday's promise still fresh in his mind. Today was inevitably going to be another chapter of his journey. But this time, he wanted to make it count. He shuffled into the kitchen, where the smell of coffee danced in the air, welcoming him like an old friend. Lucy was already up, her hair tied back in a messy bun, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. She turned and smiled, a genuine warm expression that cut straight through the fog of his doubts. Morning. I made your favorite, she said brightly, handing him a cup. The caffeine wrapped around him like a hug, comforting yet invigorating. Thanks, Lucy, he replied, taking a sip. The warmth spread from his hands to his core, fueling his newfound resolve. Today, he vowed, he would not let the shadows creep back in. While the kids were still asleep, Jake took a moment to plan out the day. His heart raced at the thought of tackling their bedroom next. It was a space that had become a storage room for both hopes and fears, a place they had intended to share as a sanctuary, but had instead let fall into disarray. After breakfast, with the kids still slumbering, he set to work. The bedroom door creaked as he opened it to reveal chaos. Clothes strewn on the floor, a pile of forgotten toys lurking in the corner, and dust covering every flat surface. Jake took a breath, holding on to the belief that tackling this would bring him closer to Lucy and the life he desperately wanted to reclaim. He attacked the space like a warrior on a mission. Clothes into piles, keep, donate, throw away. With every item he picked up, he could feel more of himself breaking free from the chains of hesitation. He found a photo album shoved beneath a stack of old blankets. Flipping through the pages, the memories came rushing back: their wedding day, the kids' first birthdays, holidays spent together. Each smile captured in glossy paper ignited a reminder of why he was fighting. Hours passed, but he hardly noticed. With each item put away, he felt lighter. It wasn't just the clutter disappearing. It was the fear that had haunted him. When Lucy finally walked in, Her expression transformed from sleepy curiosity to astonished joy. "Jake, this is amazing," she exclaimed, taking in the newly transformed space. He couldn't help but beam with pride. "I just wanted us to have a space we love again." Lucy stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on his cheek. "You are really doing this," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "I'm really proud of you." It was those simple words, infused with sincerity, that struck him the hardest. He suddenly realized how long it had been since they connected like this. The spark between them reignited and burned brighter. Yet, amid this surge of warmth, unease brushed his thoughts. He could feel the creeping worry that today's progress could drown under tomorrow's hurdles. What if he faltered again? The path ahead seemed like a fragile bridge, and he couldn't help but wonder if he'd be able to cross to the other side without falling. That evening, over pizza and laughter with the kids, the weight in Jake's chest felt lighter than it had in ages. But as the night deepened, the old doubts crept back into the corners of his mind. As he drifted to sleep, the serpent of fear wrapped itself around him once again. Was this newly found strength just a fleeting moment? Would he be able to defend against the whispers of defeat when the tides of life turned against him? Tomorrow would be another test of his resolve. Yet, in the flicker of twilight, there was a glimmer of hope. Could he continue to hold onto this light when faced with life's storms? The morning brought a new sense of urgency. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting golden rays across the room. Jake opened his eyes with a mix of determination and trepidation. Today, he promised himself, he would not let the whispers of doubt overshadow the progress he had made. He rolled out of bed, the wooden floor cool against his feet, and made his way to the kitchen. Lucy was there, already bustling about, her energy palpable. She was flipping pancakes, the sweet aroma filling the air. "Good morning. How about a little bit of homemade happiness to start the day?" she said. Grinning over her shoulder, he smiled back, feeling a spark of joy. "Sounds perfect." As they ate, laughter and light-hearted banter brought a familiar warmth to their connection. But beneath the surface, Jake felt a knot tightening in his chest, the nagging thought of whether he could maintain this momentum. After breakfast, the kids were off to a friend's house, leaving Jake and Lucy alone for the first time in weeks. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, the chance to forge deeper ties without distractions. "What do you think we should tackle next?" he asked, a hint of hope in his voice. Lucy paused, her eyes flickering with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "Maybe the living room? We could use some fresh energy there too." Jake agreed, but a surge of anxiety swept through him. Could he handle a bigger project? What if old fears crept back in? He pushed the thoughts aside, determined not to let them sabotage his resolve. They gathered supplies, and with each step toward the living room, his heart began to race, alternating between eagerness and a touch of dread. Walking into the living room was like stepping into a time capsule, old toys lining the shelves, a couch peppered with imprints from past family moments. The clutter had grown so familiar it almost felt like home. But Jake understood it didn't represent the family they wanted to be anymore. He needed to dig deep for courage. "Let us start with the shelves," Lucy suggested. "It'll be satisfying to see immediate results." Jake nodded, grabbing a box. Together, they began sifting through items, reminiscing as they went. Among the forgotten things, he found a dusty soccer ball, relics of family games played and laughter shared. This time, the memories became his fuel. Hours passed. They laughed, teased each other, and reminisced about the moments that had brought them closer. The room transformed slowly. Dust motes danced in the light, illuminating their hard work. It felt good, revitalizing, the kind of connection they had almost lost. Suddenly, as they were clearing off the coffee table, a forgotten envelope slipped from beneath the stack of magazines. Caught Lucy's eye. She lifted it, and their expressions changed in an instant. The envelope contained old letters filled with dreams they had written during the early days of their relationship. Words poured out hopes for the future, promises of adventure, and even fears. Jake's heart raced. As he read, the emotions swirled within him. This was the essence of who they were, their ambitions, their love, everything. It's like a mirror reflecting where we've been. Lucy's voice trembled slightly. And in that moment, Jake knew he had to speak up. He had to reveal the weight he had been carrying, the doubts, the fears, the weariness of living in shadows for so long. Lucy, I've been scared that I would never be enough. I don't want to fall back into old patterns. Her gaze locked onto his, fierce and understanding. But you are enough, Jake. You always have been. Just then, they heard a voice at the door. The kids were back, laughter bubbling like a joyous fountain, breaking the moment. Jake felt a mix of relief and anticipation. Could this resolve, this raw vulnerability, lead to a deeper bond? The chaos that followed the kids racing in, the excitement filling the air, was overwhelming yet invigorating. As he watched them, a new question echoed in his mind. Was he ready to embrace all parts of his life, vulnerabilities and all, to build something beautiful? In the chaos, amid laughter and playful shouts, Jake pondered, could he truly stand resilient each day, even as the world around them shifted and changed? With newfound determination, he took a deep breath. Tomorrow could be brighter, but would their bond strengthen with the challenges that lay ahead? The next morning, Jake rose earlier than usual, anticipation crackling in the air like bacon on a hot skillet. He had spent the night replaying his conversation with Lucy, how her words clung to him like a warm blanket. Today felt different, brighter. The air outside was crisp, and he could hear the distant sound of children playing. The neighborhood awakening. He tiptoed to the kitchen, but Lucy was already there, gazing out the window. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice thick with sleep but laced with a smile. The sunlight streamed in, illuminating her hair like a halo. "Morning. I was thinking maybe we could go for a walk later? Just you and me?" The request slipped out before he could second-guess himself. Her eyes brightened. "I'd love that, just like old times." After breakfast, they headed out, wrapped in their jackets as they walked hand in hand. The leaves crunched beneath their feet, creating a rhythm to their steps. Each passing tree and laughing child reminded Jake of simpler times. "I miss this," Lucy confessed, her voice almost shy. "Just walking and talking kinda makes me realize how much we've been missing in our lives lately." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Yeah, it's easy to get caught up, I senti it. I want us to be closer, to reconnect. It's like we've been living in the background instead of the front row." As they strolled, the conversation flowed effortlessly. They shared dreams, little pieces of themselves they hadn't revealed in ages. Jake told Lucy about his childhood aspirations of travel, while she spoke of her passion for painting that she had almost forgotten. Every revelation felt like putting a puzzle piece in the right place, filling the gaps of time apart. When they reached the park, Jake felt compelled to stop by the swings. He watched as Lucy took a seat, her laughter pealing through the morning like a melody. He joined her, and for a brief moment, they were just two kids again, swinging high, chins tilted to the sky, worries left far behind. "Let us promise to make more time for this," Lucy said between laughs, her eyes sparkling. "I promise," Jake replied, feeling the warmth of hope blossoming inside him. But as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, shadows crept back and the nagging thoughts of unfulfilled commitments and responsibilities came crashing in. What about work? What about the clutter still waiting at home? Would this connection withstand the daily grind? The momentary joy felt fragile, as if it could slip through his fingers like sand. Jake looked at Lucy, wanting to hold onto the happiness they shared. But he could sense a storm brewing beneath the surface, their lives still tangled in complexity. "Hey, what if we made a list?" he suggested, shaking off the doubt. "Like, what things do we want to do together? Let us map out our dreams, the ones we talked about today." Lucy's smile returned, brightening the shadows flickering over him. "That is a great idea. I want to paint again. And maybe start planning that trip where south, the first place you want to go." Just as they began to brainstorm, a piercing scream shattered the peaceful moment. A small child had fallen from a bike nearby, their laughter replaced with the tremors of fear. Jake's heart raced. He saw the panicked look on Lucy's face, and instinct took over. They rushed to the scene, adrenaline pumping through their veins, mingling with the worries they had just begun to shed as Jake knelt beside the child. helping them up. He felt the weight of who he was trying to become clash with the reality of what was happening. The warmth and connection he felt with Lucy sparked fiercely within him, but the chaos reminded him that life was unpredictable. Would they truly get the chance to transform their relationship amidst the constant flux of life? Jake helped the child up, offering words of comfort. He looked over to Lucy, who was already soothing the mother, her kindness illuminating the fear surrounding them. In that moment, he understood growth didn't have to be perfect. It could live within the chaos. But as they walked away from the scene, a question lingered: would they be able to sustain this bond, even when confronted with life's unpredictable moments? With lingering doubt, Jake felt stirred not just by the chaos around him, but by everything he longed to build. Did he have what it took for the journey ahead? The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting an amber hue over the park as Jake and Lucy made their way back. The air cooled significantly, and the warmth from their earlier laughter began to fade. Jake couldn't shake off the tension that clung to him. The joy from their walk felt too fragile, hovering just above the surface, and he feared the slightest disturbance might shatter it. "Want to grab a bite?" Jake suggested, trying to anchor himself in the moment. Lucy nodded, her expression shifting as she considered the earlier scene. "Yeah, that would be nice. I could use some comfort food," she replied, her gaze drifting toward the cloud-streaked sky. They strolled to their favorite diner, a cozy spot with old-fashioned booths and the smell of fries wafting through the air. Once inside, sitting across from each other, Jake felt a sense of normalcy return. He studied Lucy as she animatedly shared her thoughts about the child they helped. Her passion for helping had always drawn him to her. But he also saw a flicker of worry, a reminder that, like life, their reconnection could be easily disrupted. "You were really great with that kid," he said, pushing away the unease gnawing at his stomach. "It was like you didn't even hesitate." She shrugged, a modest smile playing on her lips. "I guess I just reacted. But I was worried for a second, you know? What if something worse happened? What would we do?" Jake felt that familiar heat rising in his chest again. What if? The questions invaded his mind like unwelcome guests. "I don't know. We would figure it out together, right?" His words hung between them, weighted with the need for reassurance. The waitress brought their burgers, the steam rising like the warmth of home. But instead of filling the air with chatter, they both fell silent for a moment, lost in thought as they bit into their meals. The familiar crunch of fries and the savory taste of the burger slightly dulled the ambience of concern, but couldn't quite erase it. Lucy began, lifting her gaze from her plate. "I want to feel secure again. It's scary knowing that we have all these dreams and yet the reality sometimes feels so heavy." Jake could see the uncertainty etched across her face. He knew they had both been running from facing the truth. But here it was, laid bare on the table, almost as tangible as their food. "I don't want us to face it alone," he replied, his voice low but firm. "Let us take this step by step. We can create our dream wall, maybe even a vision board. Watch those ideas grow. We'll make the time." The corners of Lucy's mouth turned up in a tentative smile. "I love that. Let us start small. Each week, we could dedicate a day to just focus on us and what we love." The warmth of her smile ignited a spark inside Jake. Their journey would be filled with challenges, yes, but it was also an opportunity to build something real together. The taste of hope mixed beautifully with the reality of uncertainty, creating a complex flavor that both scared and excited him as they finished their meal. Lucy suddenly grew quiet again, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edges of her napkin. "Jake, do you really think we can do this? I mean, with everything else in life trying to pull us apart?" His heart beat steadily, determination coursing through him. "I believe we can, but it's going to take work. Real work. And maybe it will get messy." A brief flicker of fear passed through Lucy's eyes, but it was met with something stronger, a shared understanding. They have to risk the messy part of life to forge a deeper connection. Outside, the stars had begun to twinkle, hinting at endless possibilities. Jake took her hand, weaving his fingers through hers. "Let us not let the chaos scare us anymore. We can embrace it together." Lucy met his gaze, hope sparking quietly within. But just as they reached the car, a car horn blared like an alarm bell, cutting through the peaceful moment. Jake turned, confusion flooding his mind. Who was that waiting? And why did he feel like someone was taking their first steps into their lives? Uninvited? Let us see what this is about, he said cautiously. As they approached the source of the noise, butterflies churned in Jake's stomach. Was this another twist in their story? What lay ahead as they opened the door to the unknown? As they drew closer to the source of the blaring horn, the nighttime stillness shattered under the weight of curiosity and unease. A sleek, dark car sat parked just ahead, its headlights cutting through the dim light like a spotlight. Jake squinted at the driver, his heart pounding in sync with the rapid-fire questions ricocheting in his mind. Who could it be? The window slid down, and a familiar face emerged, a sharp jawline framed by windswept hair. It was Max, a guy Jake hadn't seen in ages. They had been close in high school, but life had pulled them in different directions. Jake's heart sank at the sudden shift in their cozy night. "Hey, Jake!" Max called out, an upbeat tone masking any potential awkwardness. "Is that you? I wasn't sure if I'd run into you out here." Lucy glanced sideways at Jake, her eyes reflecting the uncertain flicker of unease. She squeezed his hand tighter, voicing her own hesitation. It was hard to shake off that feeling of fragile joy they had fought to grasp just moments before. "Max, what are you doing here?" Jake replied, struggling to hide a mix of irritation and curiosity. An unexpected encounter wasn't part of his plan for the evening. "I'm just visiting a friend nearby," Max chirped, all smiles. "But I figured I'd check out the old diner for nostalgia. And look who I found." He gestured to Lucy with an exaggerated wave. "The lovely Lucy. How's life treating you both?" "Good, thanks," Lucy replied with a reserved smile, clearly feeling the same tension Jake could sense. Their plans for intimacy felt poised to unravel. Friends and the past weren't always kind when resurfaced so unexpectedly. "Awesome, awesome," Max said, leaning back in his seat. "You must come to the reunion next month. It'll be a blast. A chance to catch up with everyone." Jake could feel the walls that had begun to soften around his heart start to constrict again. The reunion was the last place he wanted to go, a gathering of people with past judgments and unspoken memories. "Yeah, I don't know," he muttered, stealing glances at Lucy, gauging her reaction. "Oh, come on," Max urged, his enthusiasm unwavering. "It'll be fun. Plus, I hear some big changes are happening. You probably haven't heard. It's kind of a big deal." "Like what?" Lucy interjected, genuinely intrigued. Max's eyes sparkled with mischief as he leaned forward. "I can't say much right now, but just wait. There's drama that changes everything. You'll want to be there." Jake felt a knot tighten in his gut. Was it just him, or did the air crackle with a tension he didn't take well to? The past would always be tangled with this crowd, and amid their efforts to move forward, it felt like a trap. He had thought they were stepping into their new chapter, but now it all felt so uncertain. "Anyway, I really have to run," Max said, checking his watch. "But think about the reunion. It'd be great to see you both." He waved and pulled away, leaving Jake and Lucy standing under the taunting glow of dim lights, silence wrapping around them once more. "What now?" Jake whispered, letting out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "I don't know," Lucy replied thoughtfully, "but maybe we should talk about it. I mean, really talk. I can feel that we need to address the past if we want to move forward." Her words hung between them like a fragile thread, and Jake felt the weight of 1,000 unsaid things crashing down. He didn't want to turn away from this moment, but the thought of revisiting their shared histories felt daunting. "Let us get in the car," he said at last, the uncertainty still swirling inside him. They slid into the seats, the comforting enclosure of their small world wrapping around them again. But shadows loomed dark with the burden of unspoken conversations as they began to drive away. Lucy stared out the window, deep in thought. "Sometimes I think about how everything we've built could be shattered by what's hidden in the past." She finally broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake's heart raced. What if that unsettling truth knocked on their door, demanding entrance? What would it mean for them? And just like that, The uncertainty hanging in the air looked to complicate their already fragile connection. Would they be able to face it together, or would it pull them apart, just as life had done before? The car glided along the moonlit road, the engine's low hum the only sound between them. Jake kept his eyes fixed on the path ahead, the weight of Lucy's words lingering in the air like fog. He glanced at her, wanting to see her expression, but she remained lost in thought, her gaze fixed on the twinkling lights in the distance. "Do you really think we need to dig into all that?" Jake finally asked, the question slipping out more shrouded in dread than curiosity. "Do we actually have to confront everything?" Lucy turned to him, a flicker of hurt flashing across her features. "If we don't, it'll always be there, Jake. It'll hang over us, you know? Like a dark cloud." Her voice had a gentle resolve, but Jake felt the tremors of anxiety in his chest. He knew how easily they could tumble back into the past, into memories that stung with unresolved emotions. "But what if we find something we aren't ready for?" he countered, his heart racing. "What if it just starts everything all over again? The fights, the miscommunication, the heartbreak? I get that. I do." She inhaled deeply as if collecting herself. "But we've come so far, Jake. I want to believe we won't let the past destroy us again." Jake nodded, though doubt still clouded his mind. He loved Lucy, but facing their history felt like diving into the deep end without knowing if there was water below. She shifted slightly, breaking the silence that now felt heavier than before. "Remember when we were in high school, and we thought we could conquer the world? We were so naive." "Naive?" He chuckled softly. "More like fearless." "Yeah, fearless," Lucy said with a small smile. But her gaze fell again, and the smile faded. "I don't want us to lose that part of us. What we had back then had potential." They rounded a bend, headlights illuminating trees that cast eerie shadows on the road. Jake tightened his grip on the wheel, keenly aware of how easily those shadows can distract or mislead. "Maybe we were just kids, Lucy. We thought we knew everything, but look at where our choices led us." "It's not about blaming the past, Jake. It's about confronting it." Her voice was steady, but he could hear the hint of fear just below the surface. The truth resonated with him. Steering their relationship forward would require honesty, and maybe even a confrontation with those ghosts. "What if we did go to that reunion?" he suggested suddenly, the idea startling both of them. "What if we faced it all in one go? The past, the fears. It might help us move on." Lucy's eyes widened, possibility igniting within her. "You'd really be willing to do that?" He shrugged, unsure where this boldness stemmed from. "What's another night of drama, right? Besides, if we're doing this, we might as well do it together." "Together?" she echoed, a bright smile breaking across her face. And in that moment, Jake felt the tension in his chest ease, the uncertainty lifting like morning mist. But before they could fully embrace this new direction, a glimmer of headlights appeared in their rearview mirror. The approaching car's bright beams washed over them, and Jake squinted, trying to see what was behind him. "Who's that?" Lucy leaned forward, her smile fading as curiosity blended with apprehension. "I don't know," Jake muttered. The car was gaining speed, the sound of its engine reverberating through the night. "It's going way too fast." The moment felt charged, and suddenly, their conversation felt trivial against the backdrop of an approaching danger that neither of them anticipated. "Should we pull over?" Lucy asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "Let us just keep going. We're almost home." But as they accelerated, the pursuing vehicle remained close behind, and an uneasy feeling settled in Jake's stomach. Unbeknownst to them, the reunion wasn't the only thing awaiting discovery, and sometimes old ghosts don't remain quiet. What was about to unfold could change everything, stirring up more than just hidden memories. Could they handle the truth facing them now? The approaching car loomed larger in the rearview mirror, its headlights blinding in the quiet night. Jake's palms slicked against the steering wheel, and he could feel Lucy's unease radiating beside him. It was as if the air thickened, heavy with anticipation and unspoken fears. "Jake, what if they don't just want to pass?" Lucy's voice quivered, and worry washed over her features. "I don't think they're just trying to get around us," he admitted, anxiety clawing at his throat. I don't like this. The car was close now, a dark figure cutting through the night, closely tailing them. Jake pressed the accelerator, hoping to widen the gap. His heart pounded in sync with the thumping bass of the music. It felt like the soundtrack to a horror movie. Should I call the police? Lucy suggested, her fingers trembling as she fumbled for her phone. No, Jake snapped, instantly regretting the harshness in his tone. I just want to get home, away from this. They rounded another bend, and the pursuing vehicle matched their speed, creeping perilously close. A glint of chrome flashed as it veered to one side, angling for a more aggressive approach. Jake! Lucy shouted, fear lacing her voice. They're not backing off. Hold on, he yelled, swerving to the right, adrenaline flooding his veins. Every instinct screamed at him to escape to find safety. He could feel Lucy's hand grip his shoulder, grounding him amidst the chaos. In that moment, his mind raced through every encounter, every moment hesitated in their past. Maybe this was some twisted representation of their relationship, an intense reminder that confronting the past could either hurt or heal. Each heartbeat resonated with the weight of their unresolved hurt. Suddenly, the other vehicle surged ahead, attempting to cut them off. Jake's heart dropped. He slammed on the brakes. The car skidded dangerously, screeching over the pavement as he fought to regain control. The other vehicle came to a halt alongside them, its window rolling down to reveal a familiar figure. What the hell? Lucy gasped, her eyes widening in disbelief. It's Dylan, Jake muttered, frowning. Memories of high school flooded back. Dylan had been the life of every party and the source of many of their high school dramas. But that wasn't the major issue right now. I just wanted to see you, man. You disappeared. Dylan shouted, his voice a blend of excitement and urgency. What happened to you two? Was this a friendly reunion or a hostile confrontation? Anxiety gripped Jake's throat. He felt Lucy tense beside him, and he glanced at her to read her expression. Dylan, where Jake began, but Lucy interrupted. Why are you following us? She demanded, each word edged with resolve. Dylan raised his hands in mock surrender. I wasn't. I just noticed you on the road, and I thought we could talk. Jake exchanged a glance with Lucy, searching for solace in her eyes. But inside him a storm brewed. This was the unpredictability of their past resurfacing, the kind of distraction they didn't need. Did they even want to talk? Look, Jake said, his voice steady now, trying to find his footing. We're figuring some things out, Dylan. Can you please give us space? A flicker of disappointment crossed Dylan's face, but he nodded. Still, he didn't move. He lingered, an impromptu ghost from their past, an embodiment of everything they struggled to leave behind. Lucy's breathing had steadied as she watched Dylan closely, her eyes calculating. This isn't about you, Dylan. It's about us. Fine, he replied, frustration bolstering his tone. But as he shifted his car into gear, the threat of a quick exit loomed. It felt like a door left ajar, a temptation to delve into past grievances. A thought struck Jake, the gravity of it like a punch to the gut. Maybe we do need to talk. Just not now. Are we really doing this? Lucy asked, her tone softening as realization dawned. We can't keep running from it, he replied, feeling the weight start to lift. But right now, before he could finish, the urgency in Dylan's eyes shifted. Wait, Jake, there's something you need to know. The words hung in the air, heavy with promise and uncertainty. Would this revelation be the key to understanding their tangled history, or would it lead them further into chaos? Jake felt the air around him crackle with tension, the need to know more battling the instinct to run. What secrets lay in that lingering wait for truth? Could they embrace this new chapter, or would it pull them under? As the heavy atmosphere surrounded them in that dimly lit vehicle, Jake felt a rush of resolve settle over him. Dylan's sudden appearance was more than a mere coincidence. It was a catalyst, an unexpected opportunity for truth to emerge. What's the secret, Dylan? Jake asked, lighting a fire of courage within himself. Lucy shifted beside him, both nervous and expectant. It felt paramount to confront whatever truths had held them captive for so long. Dylan hesitated, glancing toward the dark road ahead, contemplating the weight of his words. It's about the reunion and things you might not know. It changes everything. He paused, taking a breath. You both were so caught up in your personal struggles. You didn't notice what was happening around you. What are you talking about? Lucy's voice cracked with dry urgency, drawing the tension taut. There's been talk, Dylan continued, his tone shifting from playful to serious. Some of our old friends have been sharing stories, some things that connected you two more powerfully than you realized. Friends? What stories? Jake questioned, but a sinking feeling raced through him. Was this mere gossip or something ripe with deeper meaning? There was a moment, Dylan replied, hesitating, a time when you both were on the verge of tearing apart threads that held you together. Life pressures, uncertainties, but it stirred a community around you. People stepped in, but you pulled away when you needed connection most. Jake felt the echoes of doubt swirl back in, tempting him with memories of struggles he wanted to forget. So what happened next? He asked, testing the waters of this old wound. They found ways to rally around you, to help, Dylan said, fixing him with a steady gaze. But that too fell apart the moment you turned inward. The words hit Jake like a ton of bricks. It wasn't merely about their struggles. Others had seen the fractures and wanted to help, to be a part of their journey. Did they really isolate themselves so completely? Is that what this is for? A wake-up call? Lucy whispered, her voice trembling at the revelation. We turned our backs on each other, on our friends. Not intentionally, Dylan replied gently. But you need those connections. You always did. Jake's heart raced as pieces clicked into place, the longing for community, the missed connections, the way isolation had deepened their fears. What if we embraced that instead? Not just as a couple but as a family and as part of a larger community? He suggested, hope flickering. Lucy's eyes shone with understanding. We can step back into our lives, reach out to those waiting. People have been wanting to help us for so long. Dylan nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. Exactly. It's about rekindling those relationships and asking for help. Let us face this, Jake said, his voice firm. The reunion isn't just about the past. It's about turning the page, the chance to rebuild and acknowledge what we need. Dylan leaned closer, excitement creeping into his tone. Then let us make it happen. Work out what it means for your future and embrace every moment. Words spilled from their mouths that night, emotions mingling as the car settled into a new rhythm. Old doubts fizzled in the glow of repressed hope, rekindling unnoticed threads binding them to their community. As they drove home, the streets shimmered with possibility. Maybe they could let go of their fears, letting the past be a shadow instead of a chain constraining them. They could step shoulder to shoulder, not just as a couple, but as a unit ready to face whatever came next. Arriving back home, Lucy turned to Jake, her expression lit with excitement. This isn't just a change for us. This is a change for our kids. Our family will thrive together in this. Jake took her hand, squeezing it tightly, feeling the warmth resonate between them. Let us open those doors we shut. Let us invite our community in. A wave of contentment enveloped them as they stepped inside their home, where the clutter still awaited. But it felt different now. It radiated potential, a blank canvas for them to paint new dreams. The following days unfolded like a beautiful tapestry, each interaction filled with laughter, love, and vulnerability. They reached for the ties that meant the most, embracing friends and family as they once did, leaving the chains of isolation behind. On the day of their reunion, Jake and Lucy arrived hand in hand, stepping boldly into a celebration filled with warmth. Faces illuminated with joy and laughter surrounded them, as long-forgotten friends embraced them both. Their two hearts intertwined with a community renewed. Jake's heart swelled with gratitude as he took a moment to look around the vibrant room. Couples danced beneath twinkling lights, memories stitched together with threads of resolve and love brimming in the air. Healing felt possible now, and he knew that the unfulfilled spaces within them, the ones filled with doubt, would stay filled with unity moving forward. As light gleamed in Lucy's eyes, he whispered, "Here's to a new chapter, together." She beamed back, and in that moment, He realized that true mastery of time was not about tasks or schedules, but rather the connections that dwelled within everyday moments. This was the beginning of a profound journey. Their true transformation sparked not just by the struggles they faced, but through stepping into the light, into a life lived fully together. Now, dear friends, as you reflect on this journey with us, remember this: life is too precious to navigate alone. If you've enjoyed this story, you need to subscribe now to keep the momentum going. This is the moment to show your support. Don't hesitate for not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who could use a boost of inspiration. And right now, leave a like to feed the algorithm, uplifting our community. Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your feelings about this transformative ending. Did it resonate deeply with you? Together, let us celebrate the power of connection.